Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates of this podcast and the other videos on this channel. Follow us on social media at PSP, on Twitter, PitchsidePod. On Instagram, listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, or wherever you can get it from. Who says that midweek action isn't, eventful or isn't noteworthy? Really, yesterday certainly was. There's a lot of places that we can start from, but really, realistically, we can start only with one place. We can start only with Arsenal getting a drubbing by Manchester City at the Emirates. Expectedly, I would say, pretty much. At least the general consensus before the game was that Arsenal are going to be getting a drubbing by Manchester City. The game was, the source of too much fear for the Arsenal fans, really, who were afraid that they were going to get a result that they would regret, really, a humbling result. Arsenal heading into this game on a 7 winless games, winless in 7 games in the Premier League. Their form is bad, sitting at 15th, people were talking about relegation for Arsenal. I know it still sounds far-fetched to talk about Arsenal a relegation situation. Yes, they have been a little bit, bad in the last couple of seasons. They have been, unsolicited, sort of, since Wenger left the club. Even in the Wenger era, the last couple of years, and that Wenger era was so turmoiled, and the hashtag Wenger out was like popping for 2 seasons in a row, 3 seasons in a row. But now it's horrible. Now it came to a time where people are discussing what is going to happen to the players if Arsenal relegated. There's 25% less salaries for them. That is what people are saying. That is what actually people are thinking. People are discussing the theories that could happen if Arsenal were to be relegated to the Championship. And that is crazy to think about it. This is crazy to think about for a side that the only side in history to win the Premier League undefeated on a 38-game fixtures. It baffles the mind, really, to think about it. A side like Arsenal, a side that is, at certain points, was really the best side in the world. 2003, 2004 Arsenal is just the best Arsenal you could ever watch. I think I'm good. I'm old enough to live through that. I'm old enough to watch that state of Arsenal. With Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, and Patrick Vieira. It was an incredible side to watch, really. Now, it came to a point where we're talking about Arsenal being relegated, and, the trolls about relegation are really all over Twitter. You just make a check on Twitter, simple check, and it would really, blow your mind how much people are actually taking this seriously, how much people are actually and actively thinking that Arsenal would be relegated. It does put a really sort of, it's hard. I couldn't find words, really, because it's a hard situation to talk about a side like Arsenal being relegated or being anywhere near close to that. It gets me emotional sometimes, because Arsenal are one of the sides that I grew up watching, one of the sides that I grew up enjoying as a kid. As I mentioned, enjoying Thierry Henry, dazzling people with his brilliant goals and brilliant skills. And now we come to the situation where this side is, completely on the brink of collapsing, demising, really, for a combination of reasons that I can't get into at the moment. And mostly that are out of my hands, really. Mostly that are reasons that are away from football, pretty much. Anyway, the game, I don't think there is a lot to talk about in the game. If you just want to bash Arsenal, probably that's the perfect game to do it. They start horribly, 3 minutes in, they're 1-0 down, and the goal was ridiculous. How Jesus was left alone in the box, in the 16-yard box, between Mustafi and Gabriel, from all people. Jesus is, I don't know what, 6'1", 6'2", maybe, compared to the giant presence of Mustafi and Gabriel, in particular Gabriel. Gabriel has been the light in the end of the tunnel for Arsenal. For some reason, he's been their best player so far this season. Aubameyang not scoring, Willian not doing any sort of significant stuff. Gabriel has been their best season, their best player this season, sorry. So it has to be said that the first goal just sets the tone for the game, and it did, and Arsenal after that just went downhill, like it went all downhill for Arsenal. They couldn't get the ball out of their own half for the next 27-28 minutes until they scored the equaliser. And when they scored the equaliser, by the way, I mean, credit to them for actually scoring the equaliser and for finding a chance in scoring. And it's a beautiful goal, by the way. It was a copycat of the first goal for Man City, across from the left-hand side. And like I said, just, steering it in with his header. After that, for the last 50 minutes of the first half or so, Arsenal seemed to be trying a little bit more to get into the game, trying a little bit to move through the gears a little bit, shift through the gears a little bit. They get what they need from the first half, a 1-1 draw. You think to yourself, okay, now Arteta should be in the driving seat a little bit, should be more comfortable in this game than what he is. He should find solutions at least to make this an entertaining game, to make this an enjoyable one, to make this as close call of a game as it can be. He enters the second half, of course. Martinelli, 2 minutes later, gets injured, which is an unfortunate event, really. Losing someone like Martinelli for injury is always bad. Then you concede a goal 5 minutes later, a stupid goal, I would say. The goalkeeper should have done better, really. Renalson, he looked shaky in a couple of occasions in the first half, but I didn't know that it would come to, the second goal that they conceded. And they shot it strong. Like Riyad Mahrez really gave it all on the free kick. And by the way, it was a stupid free kick given by Gabriel, really, on the edge of the box. That's basically a penalty for someone like Riyad Mahrez who can score those kinds of free kicks. I watched him score those kinds of free kicks before. So that was bad. It's kind of shaky, it is. Renalson made a meal out of it, couldn't get it through his hand, and it's 2-1 for Manchester City. And then 4 minutes later, and here's where VAR really is important. Here's why VAR is important. Man City get on the attack. Phil Foden, of course, who came as a substitute, who started actually the game, sorry, I was thinking more of Ferran Torres, who came as a substitute. Phil Foden scored the third goal, but he was clearly offside. Like on the replay, he was clearly a couple of yards offside, but VAR wasn't to be used in this game for some reason. I mean, it's the quarter final of the FA Cup. It's not just that, like it's 2 games per day, like it's not 4 games. Like in the Premier League, like there's Boxing Day coming, and you're gonna have like 10 matches in one day. How is that gonna be? Like, how is that not a problem? And then 2 games in the EFL Cup on one day is the problem. Manchester City scored the third goal, and that's basically game done. Like since the 59th minute, that is game done. For the next half an hour or so, it was Arsenal scrambling to do anything, City managing the game, Ferran Torres coming on, Sergio Aguero coming on, getting their minutes. Arsenal tried to have something close to a second goal. They couldn't. And then, of course, in 75 minutes, they just concede the fourth goal. Again, another marking mistake from Gabriel and Mustafi. Gabriel had a horrible game by his standards this season. And, I mean, the standards of Arsenal have been really low, but even so, Gabriel had a bad game, still had a worse game than you ever expect. And that's that. I mean, in 50 minutes to go, there's nothing really you can talk about. 50 minutes to go, there's no chance for Arsenal getting a goal. City just saw the game off, passed the ball through. They did whatever they wanted to do, and it was an easy victory in the end. And this victory, I think, I mean, from a City perspective, this loss from an Arsenal perspective is going to put a lot of, butts in seats, let's put it that way. It's going to make a lot of people think. They have a Boxing Day game against Chelsea. It doesn't get much easier from here for Arsenal. Like, it really does. It really doesn't get much easier. It only gets harder and harder and harder for Arsenal. It really shows why. I mean, this club this season, has been terrible on all levels. But there are certain results that will make you think, and this is one that is going to make people think. And Arteta, I mean, roughly 1 year into his job, like this time last year, he was appointed. His first fixture was the New Year's fixtures against Chelsea, and he barely had any time to really sort of, proceed what he's doing at Arsenal. And then, of course, there was the break, then we returned from the break, and then the double success of the FA Cup and the Community Shield, and everybody was like, okay, this guy is on something. But this is not the season. They win against Fulham, everybody thinks, okay, it's fine. They win against Fulham, okay, then the hard win against West Ham, good. But then it went all downhill, and not winning in 7, I mean, at least when it is like 7 draws in a row, which I know it's something crazy unless you're Wesker, 7 draws in a row, it couldn't happen, yes, but that would be definitely better than losing some of those games. Like, for Arsenal now, like getting a draw, basically in any game, like if probably, except Sheffield United, West Brom in the league, probably a draw in any game for Arsenal would be really, really the best result that they could get, because that is how low the level has stooped to for Arsenal. That is how low the bar is at the moment. That a draw against any side of the Premier League at the moment, bar a couple of relegation battlers, actual relegation battlers, is the best achievement that Arsenal could get, which is a big, big shame for a side that, again, won the league undefeated, still to his name today, still to the name of Arsenal, the fact that they have the golden trophy, which is winning the league undefeated and going on a 38 undefeated run. I know, I mean, statistically it's 26 wins and 12 draws, and that makes it sort of bad to proceed, but again, this is Arsenal, a side that was once one of the glorious teams of Europe, Champions League finalists. Could we see, I mean, I'm not going to go with the theories so far, but I don't want to say that we could witness another Nottingham Forest. Like, for real, we could witness another Nottingham Forest, a side that, I mean, by the way, for those who don't know, Google it, Nottingham Forest have 2 Champions Leagues. 2 Champions Leagues. Not just 1, 2. They won 2 in a row, 77-78. And they find themselves now in the Championship, unsolicited really, cannot get back to the top. They couldn't do it. The best results they could muster is getting somewhere in the FA Cup, quarterfinal, semi-final, somewhere like that. That's the best they could do at the moment. We don't want to get another Nottingham Forest, especially not Arsenal, because the legends and the players that have gone through Arsenal are so many. Arsenal, I don't want to say it, it's a stupid argument really. It feels like to say that Arsenal are bigger than relegation, but if they deserve to be relegated, so be it really. That is the point. If they deserve to be relegated, if they deserve to have the worst season ever and with the worst result possible, then so be it. Maybe that would be at least an incentive to change some things at the club, to change some situations at the club, maybe to look at things from different perspective, try and talk, some serious sense into the board and into the players and into everyone that, yes, that is happening and we're going to be going to work on it again. I think overall, again, if Arsenal to be relegated or to be having a bad season, so be it. But they need to take it in the chin somehow and go and keep up and continue playing and try getting the best results that they can. I mean, it's still logic. I mean, talking about Arsenal relegation, again, it's not logical, but it shouldn't be far-fetched from the truth now, considering the situation that the club is in. Quickly, of course, in the EFL Cup as well, Brentford qualified to the semi-final but after beating Newcastle 1-0. West, of course, 2 games are going to be taking place today. Stoke City facing Tottenham and Everton host Manchester United. That is for the EFL Cup. Quickly elsewhere, I'm going to be starting with La Liga, of course. It had a 6-match fixture list yesterday on Tuesday, of course. Valencia lost against Sevilla, with another late goal in the 81st minute, this time from Suso, by the assist from Juan Jordan to settle the deal, and a 1-0 victory away from home, an important victory against a side that seems to be struggling this season in Valencia. Yes, they beat Real Madrid 4-1, yes, but we all know how that happened. They draw just about last weekend against Barcelona 2-all, but we all know how is that happening. Elche drawn against Osasuna 2-2 in the big match between the top table clash between Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid managed to get out with the victory, 2-0 goals from Yannick Carrasco in the 49th minute, of course. Maria Hermoso in the 49th minute by assist from Carrasco. Carrasco again coming back with the assist in the 74th minute to Marcos Llorente to make it 2-0. 32 points now for Atletico Madrid on top of the table. They should look comfortable enough heading into the new year. Of course, they're going to be taking a break. There will be no action on Christmas, and of course they're going to be heading into the new year as top of the table, and a big asterisk for that as well. The fact that they have 3 games now yet to play Atletico Madrid is really going to give them a lot advantage if they do win all their fixtures in the game. Real Sociedad, again, talking about the regression, really, I didn't expect it to come this fast, this early. I mean, 3 losses in a row, including 2 of them where they shouldn't really lost, really. I mean, Barcelona is not the kind of Barcelona that Real Sociedad should have at least couldn't get a point out of. Real Sociedad should have gotten a point at least from Barcelona. And then, of course, the loss against Levante. In another game, Huesca predictably drawn against Levante. Again, how many draws is this for Huesca? This is ridiculous for that side. I mean, they're drawing all the time. They're really drawing all the time. That's why probably they are bottom of the table. They're 12 points bottom of the table. I mean, they're not far from the middle of the table. And of course, there's a whole host of things to consider. But again, they need to win games, if you want to avoid relegation. In the late kickoffs, these were really late kickoffs, 10 p.m. kind of kickoffs. Both of these games, Real Valladolid hosting Barcelona. That was a good victory for Barcelona, a comfortable victory for Barcelona. How rare could you say this about this Barcelona in 2020? A rare, comfortable victory for Barcelona. 3-0. Of course, the goals coming in from Martin Braithwaite, managing to score. Clément Lenglet scoring before him. Midway in the first half, 2-0 by half-time, Barcelona were leading. This was as comfortable as you'd expect. And of course, in the second half, Lionel Messi managed to add the third in the 65th minute, making it 3-0. Important win for Barcelona, moves them up to 5th now with 24 points behind Atletico Madrid on the table. They need to start racking up points. They still have games in hand, so that is good for them as well. So they still have games in hand. They need to rack up points as they can and as they go, so they can have momentum into the new year. They need to start the new year really strong, to start the couple of fixtures that they would have in a better way, so they could move up the table a little bit more if they want to have a decent season, because the expectations for them this season is really low. People should temper their expectation from Barcelona, even with Messi still on board, depending on what's going to happen in the transfer window, really. Is he going to be still on board by January? Is he going to be leaving? We don't know. Finishing off, of course, this is a short episode. I mean, I'm not going to be talking a lot, really. Finishing off and moving on to Serie A. Just a couple of games. One pretty much unimportant game, bottom of the table kind of clash between Crotone and Parma. 2-1 it ends for Crotone. But the other game that was played yesterday is indeed important and crucial for a lot of reasons. It involves Juventus the champions, the team that was the only team alongside Milan to be undefeated heading into the fixture, facing and hosting Fiorentina. And this was the worst game of Juventus this season in Serie A, because I don't think that they're going to be topping their worst performance ever, which was against Barcelona, in the Champions League, the first game, the 2-0, the second game, the 2-0 loss at home. Another loss at home, conceding 3 goals, a red card for Juan Cuadrado, a bad performance overall, like Fiorentina completely outdone Juventus in a way since the 3rd minute, like conceding as early as 3 minutes for Juventus, and with that way, like they were completely cold. The first goal is like a ridiculous goal. Bonucci and De Ligt were basically playing the Bayern high line, but in a more suicidal way, moving past the midfield, central circle, and they get completely caught nerve side. Frank Ribery with a terrifically weighted pass towards Vlahovic, who, runs and makes a good run. It was a heavy touch from him at the beginning, but then he brilliantly chips it past Wojciech Szczesny. It is 1-0 Fiorentina at 3 minutes. And then, of course, again, 60 minutes in, Juan Cuadrado is sent off for a stupid tackle, I would say. I mean, I was watching the highlights of the game, and of course I was looking for the red card, and the red card came in an attack. And at first I thought, like, okay, Cuadrado is on attack. Like, how is he going to be getting red card when he's on the attack and he has the ball in his feet? And then, of course, the action continued, and he just went in with a stupid tackle. Like, you talk about extremes. Like, you watch the tackle of Presnel Kimpembe against Lille on Sunday, where he was injured, he pulled a hamstring, yet he still ran across the pitch against 4 Lille players and tackled brilliantly. On a yellow card really, he could have been booked, but he tackled brilliantly, took the ball off and denied them the chance to score. Here, it was, I think, the opposite. Here it was Cuadrado on the attack, Juventus on the attack, they have the ball, Cuadrado loses his ball, makes a heavy first touch. He tries to get onto it, and he dives like really high, considering considering it's a sliding tackle. It's a very high sliding tackle, deservedly sent off. Really, there's no question about it. And from there, Fiorentina knew that they will hit Juventus on the space that they will have behind what usually is the right wing of Cuadrado. And the second half was a big testament for that. Like, the 2 goals for Fiorentina came from those sides, came from the right-hand side where there was no Cuadrado to support Danilo. And, in the end, 2 other goals by crosses, an own goal from Alexandro and Martin Caceres, former Juventus, if you forgot. Martin Caceres with the 3rd goal, putting Juventus to sleep. And some Juventus fans are crying about a penalty. Like, the whole game was horrible. Like, the whole game was terrible from Juventus. From a point of view, a tactical point of view, they were outdone. Like, Fiorentina really did them bad. And if you're losing to a Fiorentina side that lost to Benevento at home, and you lose to them 3-0 at your home, it doesn't get worse than that. I think that Pirlo should really consider a lot of things now around his side. He still didn't find the right formula. I mean, he's still varying between the 4-4-2, the 3-5-2, still changes. I mean, the problems with Sarri, the problem with Sarri mostly was that he doesn't have a stable shape. With Pirlo, it's continuing now. He still relies on the, sort of dynamic formation. He still floats between the 4-4-2, the 3-5-2, still floats between those two. Cristiano Ronaldo, as good as he is, was absent. On Tuesday, was absent really on the night, couldn't do anything significant to help, really. And it showed. And that's what happens when you don't make enough effort. And that's what happens when, Juventus do not play well. And they're unconvincing for the most of the season. And they have a bad performance against a side that outsmarted them tactically. I mean, by the way, when your midfield is outdone by Borja Valero, the guy is an oldie. You look at your midfield compared to Fiorentina's midfield, Yes, they have Amrabat, who's terrific, really, the Moroccan international. I really love just to watch him play. He's a seriously underrated guy, criminally underrated. They had a great season with Hellas Verona last season, and from loan, actually, on loan from Fiorentina, and that's probably what got them thinking, oh, we should get this guy back, and they got him back, and he's really, really doing well. Like, despite Fiorentina not really being high on the table or anything like that, like if you look at Fiorentina in the table, like they are 15th, like they're not very far from relegation spots, but but Amrabat in particular is doing really, really well, and he's doing really, really good for his side at the moment. Overall, another unconvincing performance from Juventus, another bad night for Pirlo, and I don't know, it gets sometimes it could get worse, sometimes it could get better. We're going to see how Juventus are going to be doing for the rest of their games now. They regress to 4th, and not just that, in a day where they not just lose those 3 points, but they lose also the 3 points of the Napoli game. They only win 1 point. Now they are level on points with Napoli, and that game is going to be rescheduled, and the game is supposed to be in Turin. So, are Juventus turning into a sort of Manchester United in Serie A, where they don't have the best form at home, and they're drawn against Atalanta last time out, losing to Barcelona in the Champions League. They're not really looking fine, and that is not going to be boding well ahead of the game against Milan in a couple of weeks' time. That doesn't bode well for them at all, leading into these games in the early goings of the new year. The fixture, of course, continues today with the rest of the games. Hellas Verona hosts Inter, who are on a bit of a good run as of late. Milan hosting Lazio, Napoli hosting Torino, Roma hosting Cagliari, Sampdoria hosting Sassuolo, Spezia hosting Genoa, Udinese hosting Benevento, and Bologna hosting Atalanta. And that's it for this episode of the Pitch Side Podcast. I was your host, the HOD of the PSP. Remember, of course, to like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates of this podcast or any other video on this channel. Follow us on social media at PSP on Twitter, PageSideboard on Instagram. Listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, or wherever you can get it from. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and I'll see you soon.